Hello and welcome to What Gets Captured on Film. I am your host, Dylan Paulson. This is episode 18, I believe. And if you're new here, this is a movie-centric news show all about giving you the biggest headlines in the movie industry in one convenient place. We'll talk about some small news stories. I'll tell you what I've been watching, usually something topical. This week it's definitely a few things that are relevant to the awards season. And then we'll talk about the biggest headlines of the week. And then I'll send you on your way. So this week's show is going to cover everything from January 26th through February 1st. And of course, if you want to write into the show with your question, comment, inquiry, disagreement, please spark some discussion with me. Please write in whatgetscaptured@gmail.com. Totally free. You can do so at your leisure and make it onto the show the following week. So let's begin with talking about the box office. So I end every show with what's going to come out in theaters the next week, and I begin every show with what happened the previous week in terms of the box office. So but last week, if you recall, there was nothing new. I think it was just the placeholder date for Morbius, but nothing was opening that week. It was just so happened to be some sort of a fluke in the system. Nothing came out. But anyway, let's move forward and talk about the box office from this past week. So it's completely statically the same as it was last week. If you remember, number 1, Spider-Man, number 2, Scream, number 3, Sing 2, number 4, Redeeming Love, number 5, The King's Man. Those 5 have been up there the past few weeks, so there's really nothing else for me to talk about there, but there you go. Same as last week. Same exact movie, same exact, order as last week as well. So, and I want to start something new here. I want to, Nielsen, this, I think, this company, they give the ratings for anything that's on public television. How many people watch. It's, been around, this company's been around a long time, always, gave the ratings, how many millions of people are watching the show at this time. And cable studios would kind of, model their nighttime lineup based on what Nielsen show had the highest ratings and in which slot. What was the best slot? Usually it was Thursdays, 9 o'clock. FYI. But which The Office was in that place for a very long time on NBC, as was Seinfeld, as was Friends, as was Scrubs for a period of time. So that's beside the point. But Nielsen, now, they still do that for cable TV, but they also have, this amalgamation of streaming service top 10. So what I want to institute in the show going forward is I'll talk about the box office. Sure, it's very important. Always has been, always will be. But I want to talk about the Nielsen ratings for the top 10 movies of the week in the streaming world as well, because I think that's relevant. And Nielsen is probably going to be the most accurate metric for that. But they're always a little delayed because they have to collect their data. So this is from December 27th through January 2nd. These are the Nielsen streaming service top 10 movies. Number 1, Disney's Encanto. Number 2, Don't Look Up from Netflix. Number 3, Ron's Gone Wrong from Disney+. Number 4, Being the Ricardos from Amazon. Number 5, The Lost Daughter from Netflix. Number 6, The Unforgivable from Netflix. Number 7, Red Notice from Netflix. Number 8, Back to the Outback from Netflix. Number 9, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings from Disney+. Number 10, Jungle Cruise with Disney+. So I'll just go through these top 5 and read the minutes. So how Nielsen rates these is similar to how Netflix rates the popularity of their movies. They do minutes, No, it's the number of minutes watched total here. So number 1, Disney's Encanto, 2.198 billion minutes. 2.198 billion minutes watched and I think that's total. I don't think that's. Oh no, yeah, no. That is in that week. In that week, 2.19 billion minutes watched of Disney's Encanto. Number 2, Netflix Don't Look Up, 2.024 billion minutes watched. Number 3, Disney Plus Ron's Gone Wrong, 378 million. So a huge drop off after Netflix Don't Look Up. Again, 2 billion minutes to 378 million from numbers 2 to 3. Number 4, Amazon Being the Ricardos, 371 million minutes. And then number 5, Netflix, The Lost Daughter, 355 million minutes. So pretty big, The Lost Daughter. I was kind of surprised to see that up there. I mean, that is no joke. I knew The Unforgivable, that's number 6. I knew The Unforgivable was up there. That movie was popular. I saw a lot of press for that. Halle Berry was, around promoting it. The Lost Daughter really surprises me for, that's high. But, it is what it is. Beat out Jungle Cruise that week for sure. Yeah, so that's that. I'm going to implement that into the show moving forward. So the next thing I want to talk about, by the time you are listening to this, the union members of the Academy of the Motion Picture Arts and Sciences have voted for the nominees for this year's Oscars. Isn't that exciting? The voting period for the nominees, it goes from, this is like to elect the nominees, to nominate pictures. I think it ends today or yesterday, I think. Nominees will be announced Tuesday, February 8th. So depending on the time of when they're announced, we might have them in the next show, which is very exciting. And the 96th annual ceremony will be held Sunday, March 27th, 2022. So the Oscars are coming up. Isn't that very exciting? I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. I have a few other movies I got to watch to round out, the big movies of the talk of the town of the award season. But I've seen a lot this year, and I'm proud of myself for doing it early. So, and the next thing I wanted to talk about, another just small little thing, was Hazelight Studios, developer of the video game It Takes Two, are planning to adapt that IP into a film and or television series. Here's a quote from Hazelight founder Josef Fares. Quote, "Creating the world and story in It Takes Two was so much fun for me and the team. Since it has a strong narrative with many crazy characters and just as crazy co-op action moments, the potential is huge for a great adaptation to film or television," end quote. I saw this story going around in a lot of places, but here's what I want to say about it, is that this is such a small piece of news that they don't even know what they want to do. They're just like in talks with Paramount or someone. Or no, they're in talks with producers that produced the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Or the writers. I think the producers are the writers of that movie, actually, to be honest. So that's it. That's, that is the extent of where they're going with that. We don't even know if it's going to be film or television, obviously, because this show is a movie-centric news show. I will not cover it if it's television, unless I wind up watching it, which I might. But I have no opinion on whether the show or movie will be good. Personally, I played the game. I thought the story was not as great as what the game aimed to do, which was be couch co-op for in an industry that doesn't have a lot of couch co-op games anymore. I thought that was the special thing about it. I don't think the story was the special thing about it. So, that's my 2 cents there. But I cover movies. I don't cover video games. So that was all the small things I wanted to talk about. Let's get into what I've been watching this week. I watched 2 big movies, I think, in the world of movies, in the world of award season. I watched, number 1, let's talk about CODA. Capital CODA, CODA. Written and directed by Sion Heder, starring Emilia Jones, Eugenio Derbez, Troy Kotzer, and Ferdia Walsh-Pilo. So here's what I want to say before I talk about this. Here's what I want to say. This is a small little lesson in screenwriting for you. When you write something, when you write a screenplay, there are two main modes of thought here. And we'll call one the story of the screenplay, and we'll call the other the concept of the screenplay. The story of the screenplay is what the movie is about, right? And I'll explain that in a sec. And the concept of the movie is, in what world does this story live, right? So the story of CODA is one that's formulaic and basic. And if you don't know, the movie is about a girl who is shy and doesn't realize she has the talent that she does, and she's trying to carve her way. It's a coming of age story. She's trying to carve her place in a town that she doesn't agree with. That could describe a couple other movies. Edge of 17, even off the top of my head, that could describe that. It could describe one person's storyline in Breakfast Club. We've seen this before. It's not, it's formulaic. We know what it is. The concept of CODA is, where does this story live? This story lives in a town that is heavily based in the fishing industry, which to a lot of America is antiquated and very unique and idiosyncratic. This story exists in the world of being a child of deaf parents, which is also something that we don't see represented a lot. So story here, very formulaic. We know what it is. It's familiar. Concept, very unique and underrepresented aspects in the film industry. That's what I wanted to talk about before we get into the quality of the movie. Is, I don't think I'm giving an opinion when I say that the story of CODA, which is this girl doesn't know how to sing, yada yada, is formulaic. I think that's a fact. It's of a formula. It's beat by beat. I tell you that story, you know pretty much what's going to happen by the end. It's kind of like Whiplash, right? Whiplash is the mentor-mentee struggle. That's what the story is. But the concept exists in the world of jazz music, exists in this world of being a drummer, right, in jazz music. And the concept is what makes it interesting. Well, you could argue that J.K. Simmons makes it interesting, whatever. I'm just talking about the writing here. The concept is what makes that movie interesting. Same here, I think, because, and here's where I'm going to get into my opinions a little bit. The movie is quite good. And it's the first Academy movie, it's the first award season movie that I've seen that I really have enjoyed a lot. Not without its flaws, definitely, but I really, really liked it. So the story, obviously, formulaic, like I've said, it did not catch me. It did not, I did not fall for this girl. I did not feel for her. I thought that her whole story with, didn't know how to sing. She felt like an outcast. I felt like it was just playing up emotions for the sake of emotions. It didn't feel real or warranted. It felt formulaic. I've seen this story before 1,000 times. It was boring. I thought, so that was it. That was the start of that. And, even having this unique layer, like having deaf parents, intriguing because it's unique, definitely caught my eye, but I still didn't think in the beginning, that I didn't think when I first started the movie that having deaf parents was warranted in the story. I thought it was played up for emotions. like a cheap way to get emotion. So like, oh, look at these people, they don't know how to hear. Oh, so sad. And the movie doesn't take that route. It isn't cheap with its emotions, with it, with its audience, with playing with audience's emotions. It didn't feel cheap. It felt, anything that I felt warranted. It felt like the movie had done its due diligence and done its due time to get me in to the story, to really bring me in and play with my emotions. It felt warranted. I was not upset about watching this movie. I was upset while watching it because it's a sad movie. Well, not really. It's kind of uplifting. Anyway, I wrote down a few notes. I'm going to breeze through them real quick because I've said a lot of the high layer what I think about it. The title is awesome. CODA, because it's a movie-centric movie. CODA is a music term. CODA also is an acronym for Child of Deaf Adults. Great title. Impeccable title. Like I said, formulaic story. Blah, 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 boring. Okay, the movie takes place in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And unless you're like paying kind of close attention to some background things, I don't think it's ever said Gloucester. I don't think it's ever said. It is an interesting place to have a movie. Kenneth Lonergan's Manchester by the Sea, starring Casey Affleck. That took place in Manchester by the Sea. Obviously, it's the title of the movie, which is a neighboring town to Gloucester in Massachusetts. These movies pretty much have nothing alike except for that aspect to them. They're very different feels, but that is the type of town. It is, just a fun fact for you. There's nothing really I had to say other than that. The story makes, okay. All right, so here's another thing that I thought in the beginning of the movie, that I thought that the concept, right, taking place in Gloucester with these fishermen and these deaf adults, I thought that I didn't think that it matched the story. So, okay, let me take a step back. When you're writing a screenplay and you have your story and your concept, you want to make sure that as your story develops and progresses, that your story and concept are married together, that one cannot live without the other. There have to be plot points in the story that couldn't take place without the concept, without deaf adults. If it's a zombie movie, this whole thing could, I could pitch this movie, just to give a further example of story versus concept, in case you're not getting it, in case I'm not explaining it well enough. Story, mentor-mentee struggle. Mentor thinks he's good, but he's not, has to overcome a tough mentor and then eventually achieve success. But the mentor-mentee struggle is surviving the zombie apocalypse. That's the concept. The concept is the world in which the story lives. In this case, zombie apocalypse. In the case of CODA, Gloucester, fishermen, deaf parents, music. What was I saying there? Okay, so as the story... So I thought that, Gloucester, interesting place. They're definitely unique. Deaf parents, definitely unique to movies. I don't see that type of representation a lot. All cool stuff. Yeah. But is it good? Does it tie well to the story? Because if the story, if this mentor-mentee struggle with the zombie apocalypse doesn't match up, if they're at odds with each other, right? Like it might be, because I just thought of it off the top of my head. Then the quality of the screenplay crumbles, and you don't have anything there. The concept is often the most difficult part to think about, right? I could write a story about anything, any type of emotional struggle, but the concept is the world in which the story lives. It's how is it interesting? I say all this to say that the movie, as it progresses, the story and the concept become so intertwined that they cannot live without each other. You think that the movie's formulaic until it's really not. At its core, it still is. There are still beats, beat. We know what these are. We know what the end's going to be. We know beat, but the beats are conceptually so unique and interesting because this is a world that we don't live in. We don't, observe very often. So as the story progresses, and there's a specific moment in the movie, I don't really want to ruin it. That's why I'm kind of talking so vaguely, because it holds a lot of weight emotionally and in the plot. It's really, it's really good writing is really all I can say about it. It's just impeccable writing, how closely the story and the concept are entwined together. This movie takes a formula that and gives it to you on a silver platter. It's like you expect, this movie is like you go to you're like, I want steak and potatoes for dinner, but you go to the fucking 5-star Gordon Ramsay steakhouse to get the most superb, best steak and potatoes in the world. That is what this movie does. You know what the formula is going to be, but it gives it to you in the best possible, most unique way that you've seen in years. Truly. Okay, let me move on to a few other things. I think I made my point there. So Miles, the character Miles, is played by Ferdia Walsh-Pilo. Well, I mentioned him earlier. He is in Sing Street. I think he's the main character in Sing Street. That is an excellent movie. Go watch that. That was on Netflix. Didn't get nearly the love that it deserved. It's about a kid in Ireland that wants to impress a girl and makes up a band in order to impress the girl and just improvises everything. It's awesome. It's such a cool movie. The teacher here in CODA is played by Mexican and Latin American film star Eugenio Derbez. He is very famous if you know those types of movies. He was in the movie I know him for is Instructions Not Included. It's another excellent film about it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think it's about a man who doesn't realize he has a kid and has to take care of the kid. It's pretty heartfelt. And then, I have another note here about the deaf characters, but I think I've made my point about that whole thing. So, this movie, I'll make the analogy again just to reaffirm what I think. It is the best steak and potatoes that you've seen in years. And you can put that on the DVD box. The next thing that I watch is The Tender Bar. I finally got around to it. I'm happy about it. Directed by George Clooney, written by William Monahan. It's based on The Tender Bar, which is a memoir. I forget who it's by, so sorry about that. Stars Ben Affleck, Ty Sheridan, Lily Rabe, and Christopher Lloyd in a pretty small role. Top level, Ben Affleck absolutely steals this movie. He does such a good job in the beginning of the film that it was kind of a shock that he wasn't in the rest of the movie. The movie, when it loses his character, it's not a spoiler. It's when his character kind of takes a back seat in the movie, and Ty Sheridan's character kind of takes the forefront because it really is about Ty Sheridan. The movie wasn't framed well enough in that first 30, 40 minutes with Ben Affleck's character that I thought it was going to be mentor-mentee the whole time with Ben Affleck and Ty Sheridan going back to, or not Ty Sheridan, but the young kid, the 10-year-old kid. And I thought Ben Affleck would be, the second in command, the whole movie, but he wasn't. It was, and then, that character, that 10-year-old kind of grows up and becomes, Ty Sheridan kind of steps into that role. And it was just kind of shocking that when Ben Affleck's character takes a back seat, that the movie wasn't about him. And that is the biggest negative thing I can say about this movie, is that when Ben Affleck is not in those first few scenes that he's not in, like halfway through the movie or so, it's a shock, and you feel like something is truly missing about the movie, and you're like, is this what the rest of the movie is going to be like? Without Ben Affleck in it, it feels like it loses so much charisma because he is so good. And it's not like this is like performance of a lifetime for Ben Affleck. It's just he just brings a lot of his charming, charismatic nature to this part that would otherwise just be nothing. It would be, you would forget about this role. It would be such a small part, but it's not. Ben Affleck he takes this part, spins it on its head, gives it such a unique nature to it. It's great. He's the standout person in the movie. He's in maybe 40% of it. But after that shock of him not being in the movie, after that wears off, and you can kind of reframe my mind into, okay, this is what the movie is going to be about. It's about Ty Sheridan coming of age, whatever. The script is good. It is quite good. William Monahan wrote it. It's good. There's something that kind of took me out of this. I don't like to talk about directing too much. It's really not my forte. My forte is acting 100% and writing 100%. I can talk about writing and acting. I know what's good, what's bad. Directing catches, I only want to mention this because it really catches me off guard, but some of the camera movements were trying to be stylistic, and it took me out of the movie. I thought it was out of place. I didn't think it matched the emotions of the scene. Just too stylized for what I thought the rest of the movie was trying to do. I think George Clooney was kind of trying to emulate another director's style in these one-off little sequences, and I didn't think it worked. I think it kind of fell flat. But that was a regular person watching this movie wouldn't really think about that. But yeah. So that's that. Ty Sheridan's good. Again, it's like his movie, right? It's his role, but Ben Affleck steals the show. Yeah. So Ty Sheridan's good, but he doesn't have the charismatic nature that Ben Affleck has. But he's still good. I mean, he's good. It's not even like he's just passable. He does a good job. He's good in the role. He brings a lot of energy to it. He brings his own nature to the writing. It's good. He does a good job, no doubt. Just Ben Affleck is leagues above him, and it's a shame that they're in the same movie, and in same scenes. And the ending is really good. And that was the last thing I wanted to say about that. So, yeah, the Tender Bar. The main problem with it is, ironically, the best thing about it is that Ben Affleck is in the movie. If literally any other actor was in that part, then it would have been different, and the movie probably would have felt a little cleaner. But because Ben Affleck does such a good job that you think the movie is about his character, and it's not. It was so jarring in that right turn, partway through the second act. So that's it. That's everything I watched this week. I hope you stick around for the news because there's plenty of stuff to talk about. Awards season is here, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get into it. Number one. The PGA, or Producers Guild of America, previously announced the nominees for documentary categories and sports, children's, and short-form categories in December and January, respectively. This past week, the Guild announced the nominees for awards relating to film and television. The nominees and winners are voted on only by those who are in the Guild, so the prospect of a nomination is held in quite high regard. The nominees for awards relating to film are as follows. The Darrell F. Zanuck Award for Outstanding Producer of Theatrical Motion Pictures. And here are the nominees. Being the Ricardos, Belfast, CODA, Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, The Power of the Dog, Tick Tick Boom, and West Side Story. There's a few other awards I want to go through, but I want to pause real quick here and say that the reason why I'm putting so much emphasis on the PGAs and of this award specifically is that those movies that I just read, and I'm going to read them again in a second, but those movies that I just read are pretty much, give or take one or two, those are your Best Picture nominees. The PGAs and the Oscars are very closely entwined. The Oscars and any of the union relegated shows are very, very closely entwined because they're essentially the same people voting. So you're going to have a lot of the same overlap. So again, this is Outstanding Producer of Theatrical Motion Pictures. Essentially, this is the PGA's version of Best Picture. Being the Ricardos, Belfast, CODA, Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, The Power of the Dog, Tick, Tick, Boom, West Side Story. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Outstanding Producer of Animated Theatrical Motion Picture. So Encanto, Luca, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Raya and the Last Dragon, and Sing 2. And then we have Outstanding Producer of Documentary Theatrical Motion Pictures, which we read when it was announced back in December or January, but since we're talking about this again, let's read them again. So we have, this is Best Documentary. We have Ascension, The First Wave, Flee, In the Same Breath, The Rescue, Simple as Water, Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised, and Writing with Fire. It should be noted that producing as a craft is often much more difficult to point to its individual quality than something like writing or acting. So any award relating to producing is, in layman's terms, the quote-unquote best overall feature. The remainder of the PGA Award nominees relating to television can be viewed at your leisure on their website or Wikipedia like I used because their website is kind of difficult to navigate. And you can watch the 33rd annual ceremony live on Saturday, March 19th, 2022. So that's it. Big news. PGA Awards. Those movies that I just read are the best of the year. Congratulations to them. And if you had a short list of movies that you thought would make the Best Picture nomination, that's pretty much it. You can look to those. Being the Ricardos is on Amazon. Belfast is not available right now, I don't think. CODA's on Apple. Don't Look Up is Netflix. Dune is out on DVD now. King Richard, I am unsure about. Licorice Pizza is still in theaters. The Power of the Dog is on Netflix. Tick, Tick, Boom is on Netflix. West Side Story is, I think, still in theaters. So if you wanted to look up those, you can find them. And then most of the Mitchells versus the Machines is on Netflix too. That's an animated feature. Highly suggest you watch that. I haven't seen it yet, but well, I guess I can't highly suggest it if I haven't seen it, but I've heard great things, truly great things from people that I trust. So that's the PGAs. Very exciting. I don't think that I can predict which one's going to win. I mean, if I had to pick one just because of how people are talking about things, I'm going to say Power of the Dog. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen West Side Story. I don't know if CODA could win. I mean, it's really good, but The Power of the Dog is, I think, an overall. So CODA is a good movie to CODA is a movie that elevates writing, and The Power of the Dog is a movie that elevates acting. I think that the writing in The Power of the Dog is good. I think CODA is a better example of what good writing is, to be honest, because it takes a formula and gives it to you in the best way you could possibly have it. So, and to be honest, haven't even seen Licorice Pizza. I don't know what could be there. So I can't make a prediction, but if I had to guess, gun to my head, I would say The Power of the Dog would win that. And I think it was in like 22 of the 30 most recent years, the winner of that, Outstanding Producer of Theatrical Motion Pictures with the PGAs went on to win Best Picture as well. So here we go. Let's move on. Number 2, the DGA, or Directors Guild of America, announced the nominees for their 74th annual awards ceremony this week. The award show aims to honor the most talented directors of the year in both film and television. The nominees and winners are, of course, only voted by those who are in the guild, much like the PGAs, so earning a nomination is held in high regard. The nominees for any category relating to movies are as follows. Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Theatrical Feature Films. Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog, Steven Spielberg for West Side Story, and Denis Villeneuve for Dune. Next is First Time Feature Film. Nominees Maggie Gyllenhaal for The Lost Daughter, Rebecca Hall for Passing, Tatiana Hueso for Prayers of the Stolen, Lin-Manuel Miranda for Tick, Tick, Boom, Michael Sarnowski for Pig, and Emma Seligman for Shiva Baby. And then we have documentary, Jessica Kingdon for Ascension, Stanley Nelson for Attica, Raoul Peck for Exterminate All the Brutes, Amir Questlove Thompson for Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised, and Elizabeth Chai Vasarely and Jimmy Chin for The Rescue. If you would like to check out the remainder of the 74th Annual DGA Award nominees for categories such as television, please check out their website, dga.org/awards. The ceremony will be held on Saturday, March 12th, 2022. Again, it feels wrong for me to predict what's going on in this category, especially because the only movie that I've seen is The Power of the Dog. Here, I haven't seen Licorice Pizza, Belfast, West Side Story, or Dune. So things that are on the list, but to be honest, West Side Story and Dune, like I'm not typically attracted to movies that have big marketing campaigns, and also at the time that those movies came out, I was in a tough financial situation due to getting in a car accident. Longtime viewers will remember that, if you're out there. So that's that. So number 3. The Writers Guild of America, or the WGA, have announced their nominees for the 2022 awards ceremony this week as well. The show aims to honor the best screenplays and writers from the past year in both film and television. Similar to the DGAs and PGAs, only union members are eligible to vote on nominees and winners, so this award show is held in quite high regard. The nominees for film-related awards are as follows. Best Original Screenplay, Being the Ricardos, written by Aaron Sorkin. Don't Look Up, the screenplays by Adam McKay, story by Adam McKay and David Sirota. The French Dispatch of Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun, screenplay by Wes Anderson, story by Wes Anderson and Roman Coppola, and Hugo Guinness and Jason Schwartzman. King Richard, written by Zach Balin, and Licorice Pizza, written by Paul Thomas Anderson. Here's Best Adapted Screenplay, CODA, screenplay by Sion Heder, based on the original motion picture La Famille Belair, directed by Eric Lartigau. And there's some other credits there. I don't want to butcher anyone else's name. So next up, Best Adapted Screenplay, Dune, screenplay by John Cepetis and Denis Villeneuve and Eric Roth, based on the novel Dune, written by Frank Herbert. Nightmare Alley, screenplay by Guillermo del Toro and Kim Morgan, based on the novel by William Lindsay Gresham. Tick, Tick, Boom, screenplay by Stephen Levinson, based on the play by Jonathan Larson. West Side Story, screenplay by Tony Kushner, based on the stage play, book by Arthur Laurentis, music by Leonard Bernstein, lyrics by Stephen Sondheim. So those are the nominees. Next category is Best Documentary Screenplay. Best Documentary Screenplay. Being Cousteau, written by Mark Monroe and Pax Wasserman. Exposing Muybridge, written by Mark Schaefer. And Like a Rolling Stone, The Life and Times of Ben Fong Torres, written by Suzanne Jokai. The WGAs have a slew of other award nominees announced, all relating to television. If you want to check those out, please do at their website, awards.wga.org. The award ceremony will take place on Sunday, March 20th, 2022. So, yeah. So I think I might be able to do a pretty accurate, I don't know. I think CODA is going to win Best Adapted Screenplay. Best Original Screenplay, I don't know if it's Aaron Sorkin's year. Don't Look Up is nominated. I don't know if it's a good enough screenplay to win. And I haven't seen the other 3 movies. So I don't know if this is Aaron Sorkin's year. Being the Ricardos was good, but it wasn't his best. And Trial of Chicago 7 should have swept every award show. That movie had impeccable writing, but I don't know if Being the Ricardos is up to that tier. So my prediction is he's not going to win. So, that was it. Let's move on to the next thing. That's pretty much all I can say. Number 4, Netflix released the first trailer this week for the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. The new film has the description, quote, "After nearly 50 years of hiding, Leatherface returns to terrorize a group of idealistic young friends who accidentally disrupt his carefully shielded world in a remote Texas town," end quote. The film is directed by David Blue Garcia, an unknown director with only one other credit to his name, and is written by Chris Thomas Devlin, who again has few credits to his name. The interesting piece here, however, is that Fede Alvarez and Rodos Seguez, known for making the 2013 Evil Dead remake, have story credits and producer credits on this new film. And Kim Henkel, who wrote the screenplay for the original Texas Chainsaw film, also has a producer credit. This new film will star John Larroquette, LZ Fisher, Jacob Latimore, and Nell Hudson. Texas Chainsaw is a long, storied franchise getting its roots with a horrifying film in 1974 from the mind of Tobe Hooper. After that, the franchise received less than favorable sequels in 1986, 1990, and 1995, a remake in 2003, a prequel in 2006 with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, another sequel in 2013 with Texas Chainsaw 3D, another prequel in 2017 with Leatherface, and now here we are with another sequel taking place decades after the very first film. Texas Chainsaw Massacre streams on Netflix on February 18th, 2022. I haven't seen this yet, but it's getting a lot of media attention, notably because Texas Chainsaw is such a recognizable movie title, and Leatherface is a recognizable character, and Netflix is a recognizable distributor. So I'm interested to watch it. So I will be right back and I will give you my thoughts. I think that was a pretty good trailer, and it makes me a little optimistic about the movie, even though I am not necessarily a fan of Texas Chainsaw, just never really given it the time of day, never given it too much attention. But, you know, I think that the 2013 Evil Dead remake is a great way to do a remake. And the things that were bad about the movie are no reflection of the writer or director. Well, I mean, maybe you could argue that the buck has got to stop at the director. They're, the be all end all creative vision. So when you have a bad actor, you could kind of blame it on the director. But a bad actor is a bad actor, and that's what I think was really the problem with Evil Dead. It was just so it took the first story from Evil Dead and just made it just really turned it up to 11 for a new audience in 2010s. It was awesome. So it was great. So having that creative mind of what's his name, Fede Alvarez, making the story, he has a story credit here and a producer credit. Now, obviously, like I just said, the buck's got to stop with the director. And Fede Alvarez didn't write the screenplay, just has a story credit. We don't know the extent to which he contributed to the script. But that gives me a little bit of hope for the movie in that he made a great remake of Evil Dead. So maybe there can be some notes of uniqueness and familiarity in this Texas Chainsaw movie that come from him. But, ultimately the buck's got to stop with someone, and it's the director. The director's name is David Blue Garcia, and since he has such few credits to his name, I'm not entirely sure who on set would have the more weight in their vision, whether it would be him or whether the producers would kind of step in and be like, this director, he doesn't really know what he's doing, such few credits, yada yada, big name. We should kind of step in and kind of sideline direct this thing. And a lot of tension can come on set from, because of that. I'm sure you've heard in 1,000 stories about how 1,000 movies get made. There's always tension between producers and directors. It's just the nature of the position. So I don't know whether or not to be looking forward to this or not. Based on the trailer alone, it doesn't look too bad. But, it's Texas Chainsaw. So I don't know. Probably gory horror porn film. So not that that's bad. I love Evil Dead, but, we'll see. So all I can pretty much say is we'll see. I am slightly, strangely optimistic. And another thing I'll say is that Elsie Fisher looks way different in this movie than she did in 8th grade. Obviously, that movie was a few years ago, 2018, maybe 2019, 8th grade came out. And I'll look it up real quick. 8th grade, 2018. And she looks way different. Looks like she grew up. Looks like she grew 2 feet and she cut her hair short and dyed it black. She looks way different. We'll say that. So that's all I got to say. Number 5. Ahead of the European film market, there have been announcements of many new projects with A-tier names, one of which is a new sci-fi film from director Justin Kurzel, director of a few troubled films such as The Snowtown Murders, 2015's Macbeth, and 2016's Assassin's Creed. Then in 2021, Kurzel revived his name with critically lauded Australian piece Nitram, based around the 1996 Port Arthur massacre. His new sci-fi film titled Mourning, which is, quote, set in a near future where society has a pill that does away with the need to sleep. With the added help of an artificial sun, there is finally no end to morning daylight, living and work, end quote. Mourning's screenplay is written by Sam Steiner, who only has one release credit to his name, a short film from 2017. This film, however, Mourning, has significant star power behind it. Benedict Cumberbatch, Laura Dern, and Noah Jupe will star, and Cumberbatch and Dern will also executive produce the film. Cumberbatch and Dern are both Academy Award nominated actors, Cumberbatch for The Imitation Game, and Dern nominated for Rambling Rose, Wild, and winning in 2020 for Marriage Story. Noah Jupe is an incredibly talented young actor known for A Quiet Place 1 and 2, Ford v Ferrari, and portraying a young Shia LaBeouf in Honey Boy, which is a fantastic film if you haven't seen it. It's on Amazon, I think. Say what you will about the relatively unknown writer and director, but the star power and production power behind this script leads me to believe this could turn into something special. Mourning is currently being shopped at the European film market, and we will continue to update as the screenplay slowly turns into a, hopefully, great film. Not much to say about this, but I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that Cumberbatch and Laura Dern are significant stars. They know what their star power has if they're backing this film. And so what probably happened here is they saw the script, they read the script at the European Film Market, EFM, and they were like, this film's great. We should turn it into a movie. And they thought it was, really something special. My confusion comes from where the director comes from, because I am not sure how he got roped into it. I would think that if Cumberbatch and Dern were attached to this as executive producers, that they could bring in or, have some weight to bring in someone with a little more credits under his belt. But, this guy has one release credit to his name as a short film. But, other than that, his IMDb is pretty empty. IMDb is not, always the source of truth, but it's, it is what it is accepted to be the source of truth, even though it is not always. So, we'll see. That was all I really wanted to say. Just wanted to bring that up. And that's it. This is the wrap-up of a bunch of small news items that I didn't think deserved bigger stories. So, here we go. European film market news. Benedict. Oh, yeah, I already said that one. The Hollywood Reporter reports that Ed Sheeran, Jennifer Saunders, and others will join Adam Deacon's new action comedy, Some Otherhood. From Sundance, Netflix acquires the documentary Descendant about the last known ship to bring slaves to America, produced by former President and First Lady Barack and Michelle Obama. Netflix announced that they partnered with Sony to produce and distribute the Masters of the Universe film. The Hollywood Reporter reports that Mortal Kombat 2 is in development with Moon Knight writer Jeremy Slater penning the screenplay. Netflix released the first trailer for their exclusive A Medea Homecoming this week. Apple announced that original animated films from Skydance, Luck, has changed release date to August 5th, 2022. Deadline reports that Emily Hampshire from Schitt's Creek will star in rom-com The End of Sex. Deadline reports that Kevin Costner will return to directing this summer with a period western titled Horizon. Deadline reports that Nicolas Cage starring western The Old Way lands with Saban Films. Deadline reports that Christian Slater joins Alison Brie and John Cena in action comedy Freelance. Deadline reports The Flying Lotus makes a new horror movie titled Ash. Deadline revealed the first trailer for Navalny, the Sundance documentary about Alexei Navalny's attempted assassination. The Hollywood Reporter reports that Sarah Silverman is set to produce a documentary on the insulin crisis. Deadline reports that Morgan Freeman, Cole Hauser, and Jamie Alexander are set to star in thriller The Minute You Wake Up Dead. Deadline reports that A24 acquired the distribution rights to Roger Mitchell's last film, a documentary about Queen Elizabeth II. Sony Pictures announced the release date change for untitled George Foreman biopic to April 7th, 2023. Deadline reports that Ryan Philippe, Kat Graham, and Jim Gaffigan are set to star in thriller Collide from director Mukunda Michael DeWill. Deadline reports that Woody Harrelson, Caitlin Olsen, Cheech Marin, and Matt Cook are set to star in Bobby Farley's new Special Olympics-centered film called Champions. Deadline reports that Jamie Dornan is set to star opposite Gal Gadot in Netflix's Heart of Stone. The Woman King received its first trailer this week. Deadline reports that Jeffrey Ross is set to play Groucho Marx in adaptation of memoir Raised Eyebrows. Nah, you were not raised by eyebrows. Okay, and that is all the news. And the only thing left to talk about before I send you on your way is the new movies that come to theaters this week. So here they are. First, we have Jackass Forever. The description is, after 11 years, the Jackass crew is back for their final crusade, directed by Jeff Tremaine, starring Johnny Knoxville, Steve-O, Chris Pontius, and others. Next up is The Black Phone. After being abducted by a child killer and locked in a soundproof basement, a 13-year-old boy starts receiving calls on a disconnected phone from the killer's previous victims. Directed by Scott Derrickson, starring Ethan Hawke, Jeremy Davis, James Ransone, and Madeline McGraw. Next up is Moonfall. In Moonfall, a mysterious force knocks the moon from its orbit around Earth and sends it hurtling on a collision course with life as we know it. With mere weeks before impact and the world on the brink of annihilation, NASA executive and former astronaut Jo Fowler is convinced she has the key to saving us all. But only one astronaut from her past, Brian Harper, and conspiracy theorist Casey Houseman believe her. These unlikely heroes will mount an impossible last-ditch mission into space, leaving behind everyone they love, only to find that they might have prepared for the wrong mission. Directed by Roland Emmerich, starring Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson, John Bradley, and Michael Pena. 3 interesting movies out this week. Jackass Forever is going to get huge crowd. It's been marketed to hell. It seems like I feel like I've been hearing about this movie forever because it got delayed a couple times and all the bad controversies with Bam Margera, yada yada. That movie's going to do incredibly well. The Black Phone is reviewing quite well. That trailer was released. It was one of the first trailers that I talked about on this show. It looks great. Looked very interesting. Ethan Hawke is killer. Although the trailer, if I remember, revealed like the whole plot of the movie. It was just like way too long and too plot oriented, but interesting movie nonetheless. And then Moonfall, obviously Roland Emmerich's going to give you an entertaining time. It just seems like this movie is not marketed too much or as much as Jackass Forever, but it will certainly be interesting to see where these movies lie on the box office wrap up next week. So with that, I will send you on your way. Thank you very much for listening. My name is Dylan Paulson. This was episode 18 of What Gets Captured on Film. Stay safe out there, people, and keep enjoying your movies. Keep on watching. That's how I'm going to end things now. Take care.